thanks to the river that carried cargo from one port to another and brought back voluminous profits. And yet, as nature would ordain, the river shifts its course. It dries up. It erases its traces. This is Suryapur Temple. A river used to flow across the place. Behind Anayatullah Kaji Pir's place, a river also seems to have flowed. The river has changed its way. Only the old banyan tree bears the signs of the bygone era, with the marks of chains that used to bind the ships to the shore. She is rooted in memory, looking solemnly at the world changing its ways, quite literally. The Ganga, flowing across the heartland of the nation, was one of the most significant means of communication. The river is hailed as the lifeline of northern India and has several myths attached to it. Near Tribeni in erstwhile undivided Bengal, the river branched off into three different courses, referred to as the Saraswati, the Bhagirathi, and the Jamuna. The port of Tamralipta was one of the major ports in ancient India. It is believed that the old course of the Saraswati and the river Rupnarayan met near this place. But from the 8th century, the Saraswati shifted eastwards, and the port of Tamralipta died. It became part of history. Around the 14th century, Saptagram emerged as a major port in the eastern part of India. It was on the bank of the Saraswati. However, during the 16th century, the bed of the Saraswati was getting silted up, and the lifeline of the famous port was cut off. Time and tide, they say, wait for none. But then, change is only natural, and the urge to move on is perhaps only human. Bidor, Hooghly and Chinsura came up one after another along the banks of the Bhagirathi. These towns were powerful commercial centers. From the last quarter of the 18th century, the Calcutta megapolis started emerging on the landscape. The city's growth was phenomenal. Calcutta came into being. city started its municipal services in 1727, and nalas were used to channel out the sewerage of it. At the onset of the 20th century, the Calcutta Corporation used one of the nalas for siphoning off the sewerage of Calcutta city. This is Tolly's Nala. It stretches from Hastings at Calcutta to Samukpotha for about 29 kilometers. Historical evidence reveals that this Nala partly follows the route of a river that has dried up. The cartographic analysis indicates that the route of the Bhagirathi that flows downstream from Calcutta today was not its original route. Medieval Bengali literature sings the saga of the lost traces. It suggests that the course of the Bhagirathi was via Kalighat, Boral, Rajpur, Baruipur, Kirtan Khola Ghat, Suryapur, Namazgarh, South Barasat, Chhatrabhog, Barashi and Khari. It is generally believed that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu travelled along these lines to Neelachal, which is another name for Puri, and halted at places like Panchvati Ghat, Kirtan Khola Ghat and Chhatrabhog. Kirtan Khola Ghat is the place where Chaitanya Dev rendered his enchanting kirtans. But time has taken its toll. The dead resides in place of the vibrant figures. The ghat is now a crematorium. This was the course which had a common segment with Tolly's Nala. This course is now called Adi Ganga, the original course of the Bhagirathi below Calcutta. The ruined temples, the little obscure ponds or waterways, the stifling crematoria, in a way, helped the researchers rewrite history, perhaps even rejuvenate the dried up stream. The estranged portions of the lost river are associated with the Hindu rituals, thereby drawing its sacred status from the past and knitting an aura around itself. The river is a lost stream now. And it seems man played a more significant role than nature in this chronicle of effacement. canal linked the Bhagirathi at a place now called Hastings at Calcutta and the Saraswati at Sankrail. It is now referred to as the Canal of Nimki and is supposed to be a paleo channel. This canal widened and strengthened itself as the Bhagirathi shifted towards the dried-up heart of the Saraswati. One school of thought believes that this was executed during the reign of Nawab Ali Wardi Khan, the Subedar of Bengal, between 1739 and 1756. Another school thinks that nature has played the decisive role. The history of the landscape keeps us in the dark, as its pages remain bare, devoid of any memory. Whatever the reasons might be, the original course of the Bhagirathi from Hastings to Sagar Deep as a consequence started drying up. The history of civilization is thus also the history of man's endeavor to reach out to places, to leave behind his roots, to grow, to conquer, or to move on simply to survive. As time flew, men came up with new inventions and newer means of communication. Communication was revolutionized. The revolution, however, gave a jolt to the waterway communication, and the waterways were rejected as primitive means. The patterns of communication, in a sense, shaped the face of a place. Muddy village roads lead to highways, bringing home change, and eventually the means of communication change. It was a remarkable 15th August. The 15th day of August 1854 is remembered as a glorious day in the history of Indian Railways. A steam-propelled train from East Indian Railway, for the first time in Bengal, left Howrah and reached Hooghly within 91 minutes. A new track was laid in the history of communication. Man tried to keep pace with time. However, trade and commerce still continued to use waterways as the means of communication. In 1862, the railway network reached the southern part of 24 Parganas, and water communication as well as riverine ways of life were channelized to urban areas. The life of the ordinary underwent a sea change. New encroachment came up on the bed of the lost river. fresh life sprang up on the vast emptiness. These new areas required a duct for their sewerage, and one was already existing. Well, this has already been mentioned as Tully's Nala. Records state that it was named after Major William Tully. Major Tully started an excavation of a portion of the existing course of the Adi Ganga in 1770 at his own cost. He first excavated a portion from Hastings to Garia. He then extended this stretch to Sanupota, which eventually merged with the Vidyadhari River. During this time, the Governor-General of Bengal was Warren Hastings. The formal deed was executed between Warren Hastings and William Tully on 4th September 1777. It was also the commercial potential of the route that captured his imagination. Small country boats loaded with paddy, straw, honey and other material used this route to reach the Chetla rice market from the eastern districts of undivided Bengal. The excavation drew its waters from the Bhagirathi. As a result, the original river, that is the Adi Ganga, struggled for existence. Finally, its course dried up, almost sacrificing itself for a new stream. In the process, it erased its own footsteps. But there are a few places which still keep the memories of self-erasement close to its heart. Kalighat is one such place. It still lives with age-old Hindu rituals. Tripur Sundari Devi's temple of Bodal. The Adi Ganga used to flow blissfully between the temple and the old crematorium of Bodal. The Adya Mahesh temple of South Barasat, the place metamorphosed as time slipped by. But all has not been effaced from the face of the earth. There are places which live in memories, looking like photo albums, calling out for our attention. Even 150 years ago, rivers were the most important means of communication. They could carry one off to far-off lands and bring in profits. They were the route to riches. Chhatrabhog was once a port and a place of pilgrimage. The temple of Tripura Sundari Devi, the ruins stand as an emblem of change. Chakratitha, an old crematorium. The pond of Nanda was an integral part of the Adi Ganga. The village Khari on the bank of the Khari river is also reminiscent of the past. This sleepy hamlet was included in Khattika Mandal of Pundra Vardhan, the largest presidency of Lakshman Sen Dev. The Khari river was an offshoot of the Adi Ganga and a commercial link with the eastern part of undivided Bengal. For obvious political reasons and for all practical purposes, this route has ceased to operate. the widening of the canal of Nimki, excavation of Tolly's Nala, emergence of railways as the alternative means of communication, and finally, siltation. All these have led to the drying up of the Adi Ganga. The course shifted and was soon forgotten. All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health has declared the Adi Ganga or Tolly's Nala to be unsafe. The high levels of biochemical oxygen demand and chemical oxygen demand call for serious attention. It has been turned into a dumping pit for all kinds of pollutants. Illegal cowsheds, water hyacinths, and dumping of dead animals have reduced the Nala to a public sewer, a vein of venomous fluid attached to society. This is the river of Bhagirath, an engineer of Indian mythologies, who led the Ganga to the earth by beseeching Brahma. Today, it is at the mercy of the 20th century engineers, gasping for breath and perhaps giving a new meaning to old myths. Siltation hampers normal velocity, changes the course, and finally brings about the stifling end of a river.
Gopurascha, Kudashchaiva, Boru, Sakpancha, Shitastatha, Sarbete, Sittimayantu, Moddate, Nambunasada, Om Murichi Stipadang, Om
A river always requires a certain spill area to release its silt content to maintain a constant velocity, or else it loses its natural vitality. But the habitat that has cropped up along the river changes the demography and quite selfishly deprives the river of its space for growth. Truly, man has used nature for his petty gains, never recognizing the services it silently bestows upon him, and even disregarding the natural flow of life. Moving on, perhaps pretending that a river never existed under his feet.